Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think I've got the best slot of the day. I'm just going to try and run you through our results presentation because our year end was 31st of October and we announced our results a few weeks back. And before I do that, I'm just going to run you through a brief history of Idox and where it came from. Because it's moved on. It was a business that was floated on the London Stock Exchange in 2000 with a different management, and the current management team came in to take over the business in 2006-07. The approach since 2006-07 has been to grow a software business from its core market into being an expert in providing solutions around software which requires complex workflows. So we started out as a business that was focused on the public sector market, but we diversified in 2010-11 into covering the oil and gas, utilities, and infrastructure market. And we've grown the business from being a software-only business into being a total solution business providing complex workflow solutions in each of those sectors. Now, if you just take each of them in turn, in the public sector market, we're probably best known for focusing in the regulatory environment around planning, building control, and environmental services, where if you've done an extension to your house, or you've built something, or you're applying for a HS2 development, any form of planning application or building control development, or any form of licensing system where there is a process that requires approval, collaboration, and cooperation between third parties to get something approved. We're not responsible for the quality of the planning process, but we are responsible for the total systems and process that make that possible within the legislative time frame for delivering a planning application and planning approval, and then approvals of the building control around the construction. In the oil and gas, utilities, and infrastructure markets, the core product is again workflow solutions which are specific to the domain around deliverables management. Pretty much any sort of large capital project that is constructed in the world starts with a basic set of drawings, and those drawings are amended over the life of the construction of the product. So what you start with is one set of drawings, and what you end up with is an as-built set of drawings where up to 40% of the drawings and the documentation has changed over the life of the product. And those drawings are changed by all the suppliers in the supply chain in real time. So there's a need to coordinate all those changes to make sure that the knock-on impact of one change by one supplier is fed in through the process into all the other suppliers' documentation. So what you end up with at the end of the process is an instruction manual. And following on from that, you end up with operating procedures, health and safety procedures, compliance procedures, and a whole bunch of documentation that makes you legislatively compliant. So again, we're running workflow solutions within those domains where we can ensure the accuracy and quality of that information. So when that happens in the oil and gas market, in the utilities market, we have about 30% share of the nuclear market in North America and providing systems for that. And in the infrastructure market, it varies from the construction of a building like this into large capital projects, or the building of plant for pharmaceutical industry, or in the case of organizations with large estates. So you might take somebody like BNP Paribas, which has 3,000 offices worldwide, and it has a continual renovation program or change program around that. So any document on collaboration around the construction, maintenance, and management of those systems is something that we deal with. The market drivers are consistent across all those groups. How do we do it more efficiently, and how do we save money and drive margin to the bottom line? And in the current pressures in the oil and gas market, where the price is in the toilet, as we know, then it's again about maintenance of margin and operating efficiency. And that's what we provide to our customers. And we have capabilities across all those verticals. And this portfolio approach demonstrates the resilience of our business. When one sector's up and another one's down, the business generally performs and provides consistent performance. So in 2014, October to October 2014, revenues grew 6% to 61 million. EBITDA was up 9%. The net debt came down by 4 million to 15.8, and we increased the final dividend. We changed the organization in the year to, around development and the structure of development. We used to have a centralized R&D function developing product at the behest of the operating units. We've actually pushed the development structure back into the operating units, and I'll talk a bit about that later on. The main drivers in the market are cost reduction and change. All of our customer base, whether it's a local authority which is being put under pressure by central government because central government is withdrawing central government funding, or whether it's somebody in the oil and gas industry which is under margin pressure, they're all looking to either automate their processes, outsource their IT, improve the customer journey in the case of local government, and improve the quality of what we do, of what they do. And we can achieve that for them by providing the software, but also providing the managed services around the software, and providing the hosting, and operating the complete solution for them to guarantee either compliant in the case of public sector, or they guarantee a delivery and can construct the project they're trying to build. As a visibility of the revenue of the business, this is a cut of our total revenue in two ways. And the types of business we generate revenue from standard maintenance software contracts, but also from SaaS-based contracts in the construction market, in cloud-based solutions, subscriptions in the case of our grants business, and managed services across both the software and maintenance side of the business. So we have visibility of at least 48% of our business coming into the year through our recurring revenue streams, and we have fair visibility of the remaining 45% in the software and services piece. Split down by sector, public sector remains the largest part of the business today with 47% of revenues. The oil and gas sector, utilities and infrastructure are all roughly about the same size, at around about 10 to 12%. And then we have other areas in grants, elections, and compliance, which are content-based services. The restructuring I was talking about earlier in development is to provide better solutions to our customers as a form of professional services. So to grow the amount of professional services we deliver to our customer base, because we're more about improving the quality of service to our customer and providing them with the best quality of service, and selling or upselling into an account or account managing our customer base. So in the public sector market, there are only 400 local authorities or public bodies in the UK. We have penetration of 90% of that market. So we sell something to 90% of the market. And in planning and building control systems, we have control of about 70% market share. So our objective is how many more services, other than just pure software, we can sell into that existing market. The restructuring and development is to bring development closer to the customers so that we can build solutions for customers, bring it closer to product management, and that drives efficiency in the business and faster delivery of solutions to our customers. Public sector business represents about 70% of the overall business, and it grew 8% year on year missed the years off in 2014 over 2013, and the operating margin improved from 27.8% to 29.1%. So we continue to take market share from our competitors in the basic application space, and we continue to expand from our existing customer base into offering managed and hosted services to the installed base. The grants side of our business, which is both based in the UK, is a content business, and also based in Europe, primarily in Holland. The grants business is the largest grants database in Europe. It is a comprehensive content set of every source of grant information, every grant that you can apply for across the UK and Europe. So it's sold to local authorities, to research departments, and to corporates, all of whom are looking to raise grant monies to fund their research. And the Dutch side of the business actually uses the content set to provide consultancy services as an upsell from that content set to apply for grants for government funding from the local governments and from the European Union. And in 2014, we had a strong elections year because we, apart from doing work for the Cabinet Office around independent electoral registration, we were also responsible for managing and operating, or one of the operators responsible for managing and operating the Scottish referendum. So we provide software for the maintenance of the electoral register, as well as providing the managed service around conducting the count on the night and delivering the end result. And we're doing that both mainly in the UK, but we've also started expanding that out to other parts of Europe and doing counting and managed services across Europe. This sort of Ansoff type graph is just to give you an idea of where the business has come from. We started out in the bottom left-hand corner of planning, building control, and environmental services, all of which are based around an address, a spatial address, a point on a map, and so that everything we do is directed back to a spatial coordinate and providing basic software. And the business has grown over the last 5 or 6 years by traveling vertically through the software managed services hosted and finally into doing small BPO services within the public sector market. It has also expanded horizontally by providing relationships with building relationships with third-party software providers to provide other software solutions in other verticals in estates management, rents and benefits, social care and finance. So we can provide a back office solution for the public sector market out of the box, every major department and function and process and workflow for a local authority in the UK. In our core market of regulatory and planning services, Idox has grown from having less than a 6% share in 2007 to 18% today. And this pie chart represents roughly in revenue in terms of addressable market around about £500 million. I mentioned grants and elections. The other part of the business is compliance, which is again a content service where it is effectively an online cloud-based e-learning platform. It's mainly directed at corporates in compliance around the Bribery Act and other legal requirements. It's the only way in which corporates can confirm that their staff are compliant with whatever legislation or services they want to educate them with. It's an online training program which counts who's logged on, who's accessed the data, gives them online tests like an online e-learning program, and then gives them a result at the end of it. So you can say that 95% of all my staff have been through a training on the Bribery Act, and they are compliant with it, and they do understand their responsibilities under that legislation. But you can apply it to health and safety, you can apply it to anything, terms and conditions of employment, in the case of some of our customers, whatever the content set you want to actually have built and presented online and reported against. The back end of last year, we acquired a company called Digital Spirit based in Berlin, and Digital Spirit is our major competitor for compliance systems in Europe. So it was a common sense acquisition to deliver economies of scale from putting the two businesses together in our core market. In our engineering information management business, our revenues were flat in the year, mainly due to the impact of the problems in the oil and gas sector, although in constant currency terms, revenues grew by 4%. And within the mix of our revenues, our growth in professional services grew year on year by 16%. Typical customers in that space, in the oil and gas space, and move forward for us in oil and gas, is in a market which typically buys stuff rather than has a service contract for it. ConocoPhillips was the first organization in that sector that actually moved to a fully hosted and fully managed solution. In the utility space, it's purely the growth in professional services revenue rather than the sale of software. And in the infrastructure space, BNP Paribas and Colas are both groups with large establishments of offices globally that are trying to manage and run projects, which we're running as their corporate standard. So in summary, the company has moved from a purely software business into a total solutions business, providing solutions around anywhere within an organization where there is a complex workflow requiring quality control and management. It has attractive public growth prospects both in the public sector, utilities and infrastructure space, which more than offsets the risk in the current flatness of the oil and gas sector. And this portfolio effect provides resiliency across the group. We are a business that is made up of both organic growth and acquisitions. Historically, we've done more than one acquisition a year, and we're still an acquisitive company and can fund that from our current funding. And we're a cash-generative business. And we had a strong year in 2014, and we're confident about the outlook for 2015. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.